Welcome, friends. It's the very first Incredible Hulk podcast. This is a new thing that we've started. We're concentrating solely on the Incredible Hulk television series from the 1970s and 80s, and also we'll be looking later at the three made-for-television movies that Bill Bixby did from 1988 to 1990. So basically, every televisual thing that had the classic cast in it, which ran into 5 seasons, or you may call it 4.5. Really, it just kind of spilled over a bit. And we're looking at the very first. It seemed appropriate to look at the very first pilot episode, how it all started back in 1977, which was written, produced, and directed by Kenneth Johnson. Now, Kenneth Johnson, of course, has a lot of success prior to the Hulk with the Bionic Woman, and it was a character he actually created for television in the early 70s, and that did really well. Of course, we all know that the Hulk at that time was a comic book creation created by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, I believe, for Marvel. There was a short-lived animated series in the 60s, I believe, of the Hulk, but predominantly it was a comic book character, the origins. Kenneth Johnson was approached to develop a new television series based on a Marvel character. I think he got maybe 4 or 5 different ones that he had to look at, and he wasn't very happy with doing any of them at the time. He was thinking, I think there's a quote about him saying, "I don't really want to do a show about a guy walking around in spandex," He couldn't relate to it. He couldn't relate. Coming from a kind of drama background, I suppose he couldn't relate how it would transfer to screen, So anyway, it took a lot of time. Eventually, he came around to the idea, but he wanted to do it like the kind of Les Miserables character for Banner. This guy is like on the run, and a bit like The Fugitive. There's lots of elements to that as well, as you know.
Exactly. Yeah,
right. Particularly with McGee sort of following him around like a monkey on his back. So that was the kind of style that he wanted to go to, and he made it much more like very straight drama, really. It was very different in tone to what you may have seen later on with the other kind of comic book characters that came into television. It was much more kind of adult drama. And I think for that reason, that's why it stood out to me so much, because it was addressing really real life themes about people who were struggling with their own inner demons each week that he met, whether it be alcoholism, baby trading. There was stories about domestic abuse, everything. There were some strong themes in there, but just with that fantastical element of a man turning into a creature for a few minutes. But mostly it was focusing on Banner and his struggle and the struggles of the people he met along his journey. And I thought that it was fascinating.
Yeah. And all the women he loved.
And the women he loved and lost as well. But anyway, we're looking at the very first story, The Incredible Hulk from 1977. And I am joined by my 2 friends for my first ever episode. I'm very grateful that they're helping me. I've got Phil from London.
Hello.
And I've got Susan from America. Hi, Susan.
Hello, Frank. Hello, Philip.
Hey,
hello, listeners.
Really good to have you both here. Thank you so much. So let's get onto it. We could, chime in when you both want at any point and discuss things. This is just it's not a straight review. We're just talking generally and picking up on things.
So can I start?
Yeah, by all means.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Because I mentioned the women. It starts off with him having a terrible car accident due to an exploding tire.
Yeah.
And his car rolled a couple of times, and that can be totally scary. But he was ejected from the vehicle, and his wife at the time was restrained or somehow stayed inside the vehicle, and he really wanted to free her, the trouble that's coming down. So yeah, she wasn't able to be freed, and it really wounded him inside. He was pretty devastated by that.
Yeah, he kind of lived with that guilt, and because he didn't have the kind of power to get her out of the car, that kind of really affected his life and kind of drove him into where he ended up. His fate, as it were, by accident, of course, but but it happened. What do you think, Phil, about the sort of opening part of it?
Yeah, I kind of, because when I saw the opening, and it was kind of very romantically open, a romantic opening out, just to lead us into this tragic kind of car accident, as Susan alluded to. And the fact that he tried so hard to save his wife from the burning car, and obviously we know that didn't happen. And I found that a really touching scene, because it showed him as a loving husband to a loving wife. And then obviously for the months and maybe a year or so after, he still struggles with the nightmare that he has of that event. And to that end, he's determined to find out why or how other people who have had similar situations happen to them could find the strength to save their loved ones. So he, in turn, is deciding his goal in life is to find that secret that those people have that have saved their loved ones from dangerous situations. And as we know, he's subjected himself to gamma radiation poisoning, which at first he realized it doesn't work. It doesn't work on me. Where can I find this strength? And then we learn from further on that for him it is caused through anger. So whenever he turns angry, he turns into the jolly green giant, as I shall call him. Yeah. But he's not so jolly. But we all know that.
Yeah.
But I like that, and I do like the fact that that we are given the idea that rather than just turn green as Bruce Banner and have the strength, we're given a totally different character outside of Bruce Banner to be the monster that becomes his alter ego. But the main point of that, though, everyone sees everyone in the show sees the Hulk as a dangerous creature. But we as viewers, we learn that he's got kind of a softer side to him. He's not violent. He just wants to help and save people. But because of the way the creature looks, people are feared of it. And obviously, they attack it, and then it becomes more angrier, and then you get the wrong idea about him. But I do hate that blasted Jack McGee, whatever his name is. I remember even when initially watching it as a kid, I really hated that character. I was like, I wish the Hulk could just get away and not be found by him. But that man just.
Are you talking about the reporter?
Yes, indeed, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
What a terrible man! He just does not give up, and
yeah,
you know what? And it's almost like The Fugitive, like the program where you got the police always chasing that man wherever state he's in. Jack McGee's the same thing. He's like a bloodhound looking for blood, and one of these days he'll get his up coming. Yes, Sue, go on.
So the guy sees these footprints and catches a glimpse of the Hulk. He catches a glimpse of the Hulk. And he wants to know where he comes from. And so he follows him back to the lab. The lab is shot. It's destroyed. Because the Hulk was released under pains and duress. The scientist and the scientist that he was working with, he was beginning to there was some sexual romantic tension there, and I mean it was like he was falling in love with her, and then he loses her too.
I know that was a very sad outcome. I thought, he's got no luck. He's got no luck with the women at the moment.
It was
no luck.
And it's interesting because what's never addressed, because they didn't realize he didn't realize he'd done it, was that McGee inadvertently caused the death of her.
Good point. Good point.
And that's never brought up again in the series. That because of him snooping around and hiding in that cupboard
and knocking over that
accidentally knocked over the acid or whatever that caused the explosion.
Yeah.
But but that's never brought up. And he thinks that the Hulk's a killer, that he killed, Banner and
Dr. Marcus.
Elena Marks.
Dana Marks. It's Marks. Okay, yeah.
Elena Marks, yeah, the character, the girl that was with him, yeah, played by Susan Sullivan, who has had a big career, mostly in soaps and stuff like that. She's still acting now.
Wow.
Yeah, she's still acting. I think she's in the 70s now.
So that her character was named after one of the production assistants or the who worked on the show, because there's a big Marks that was one of like the producers or the production people on the show, right?
Yeah, I think that's something that Kenneth Johnson did a lot with his friends. He used to use their names as characters.
For characters, yeah, that would be. I can see people doing that because that'd be so easier.
He used to do that quite a lot, yeah. So they get a lot of names throughout the series that are actually friends of his or production staff, and he uses their names.
Right. I have one question. In the casting of Lou Ferrigno, was he the only choice for that role? Were there other people interviewed for that role? Do you know?
There were. I think they actually approached Arnold Schwarzenegger originally.
That's what I was leading to. I think that, yeah.
But I think what happened was when they met him, I think they did meet him. He wasn't tall enough. I think Lou's taller. And they wanted that height thing, that kind of height thing. I mean, they do play with some camera work, doing low shots, making him look bigger, but generally speaking, they wanted someone, who's a bit taller. So he didn't get it, or I think he was doing some other thing at the time, maybe a film, and it clashed or something, I'm not sure. Because his career was just kind of starting out, Schwarzenegger's at that time. Pumping Iron, the documentary and things like that, which they were both in, by the way. Lou and Tim were in that. But there is a scene in the actual pilot of Richard Kiel, who played Jaws in the Bond films.
Yeah, Richard Kiel. Yeah, I know.
And it's a very brief clip of Richard Kiel in the scene with the girl that's in the lake, and he's trying
wow.
And he pushes the tree down to kind of to help.
Yeah.
There's a brief shot there where he turns to look up at the tree, and they do like a quick zoom up, and that's actually Richard Kiel for those couple of seconds. So he actually did do a makeup test. He was actually there. He didn't get it because he didn't have the bulk like Lou. He wasn't muscly, and because he was so tall, he couldn't run very well. He was flat-footed.
Yeah.
So therefore, it didn't work for the action thing. So he didn't get it either. But for those few seconds, Kiel was actually the Hulk. Yeah.
Good.
What do you want to say there, Susan? Anything?
I liked how they left it like there was like he was gonna stay a fugitive. He kept it his death a secret, and he was pursuing his healing or something like that, because he didn't want to be the Hulk, but he did. There was a lot of that horror classic horror movie stuff going on, the lightning and the rain and
the Frankenstein type thing.
Yeah, it was very atmospheric. Yeah.
And so he was, especially the arcing in the back of when he was in the lab.
Yeah.
And in that tube, I mean, it was a very Frankenstein-ish transformation, and they used that transformation and all of that cool imagery for the opening sequence in every single show after that. So I thought that was really interesting, was that they used what was shot in the pilot for the whole rest of the run. And so I mean, not only the tropes, but the brilliance of those images, that was really cool. I really enjoyed the Incredible Hulk when I saw it in the 70s in the United States. I don't know, did you guys have it in the 70s?
Yeah, we did. That's when we saw it back in 77 as
we did.
Frank said.
It went out the same year, I believe, as you.
Yeah.
Maybe a few months later or something, but we did get
probably.
it.
We did get it around about the same time.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that if you ever go to someone and sing the end of the theme tune, ding, 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 ding,
Yes.
people will know exactly what that is straight away.
So iconic now, isn't it? That
Yeah, very iconic.
It's so desperately sad as well because it's just like he's got to move on again. He's desperately trying to get a normal life.
Yeah,
there's so much poignancy to that,
Mm-hmm. And he, no matter how sunny or how bright and shiny the whole rest of the episode is, at the end of the episode, it's always David Banner in the dark, in gray skies or in a dark room or whatever, huddled there, going, "Oh, it's not done. Bummer."
Yeah.
Just as a side question, though, in regards to the Hulk himself, Frank, how do you feel about later movies that we see now with the Hulk in them, where they're now giving him voice? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I know that he had a voice in the comics. I believe he used to say a few words in there, mostly Hulk smash or something.
Yeah.
Which was very, very odd anyway. I have to admit, because that's why I'm focusing on the series rather than the movies, because I've only seen the first two big blockbuster films of the Hulk, like the Hulk and the Incredible Hulk. I liked the second one more than the first, I have to admit, with
Edward Norton.
That's it, Edward Norton.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the reason for that was because it was much more of a homage to the original series. More, you got him on the run, you got him with his knapsack, you got the green eyes back, very similar to the original.
Yeah.
And I think it was kind of a bit more of a nod to that. That's why I connected to it more. I have to admit, with CGI, I'm not particularly a huge fan of it.
No, it doesn't make it.
When it's done subtly, like in film or something for landscapes or certain effects they need to do, that's fine. But when it's noticeable, obviously with the Hulk, it's going to be blatantly noticeable. Then it's a different story, which I don't quite connect with. I know that's the only way they could do it now. Obviously,
so Lou Ferrigno really was beautiful and brilliant in that the Hulk role. I mean, he really did all the stuff with him.
Mm-hmm.
He was a good physical body, and he would do lots of his own stunts and stuff. I mean, so they were able to really do lots of practical special effects with him.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, is it true that Lou Ferrigno is deaf?
Yeah, I think he had a virus as a child or a fever or something that caused deafness in his...
Yeah.
He was wearing hearing aids when he was on set, so that's why they had the longer wig to kind of conceal it,
Oh, that makes sense then,
he had a lot of trouble with his hearing, and which made it quite difficult sometimes for people to direct him as well, because when they were shouting like things to him, he couldn't hear it very well.
Yeah.
But I think he did remarkably well under the circumstances, what was given to him. I mean, and sometimes, I mean, he wasn't that bad acting either in it. I mean, it was his first ever acting thing. He was not an actor. He was a bodybuilder. The Hulk was the first thing he ever did acting wise. And as the episodes go on, the years go by, he gets better and better and better at it.
Yes.
You can see the learning.
I can see that. I didn't realize that, but I can see that. I agree.
Particularly in his softer moments, when he was showing his tender side, when he comes down from the anger.
Yes.
And he'd be like with maybe a little rabbit in his arms and stroking gentle giant, or he's showing an emotion to.
That's why I think a lot of people kind of warm to the show, because when you show that side of the Hulk, it gives it kind of like, yay, he's not a baddie, he's a goody, and that's what people liked about that.
He really was just like a sort of like a reckless child when he was angry, just smashing things up, having a tantrum.
Yeah.
But he was a child trapped in a big body. But that was basically it. Outside of that, he was just a gentle soul, and he was probably just as confused and lost as Banner was, in a sense.
Yeah.
He was being hunted as well, as much as Banner was,
Yeah. The blackouts between when he's around and Banner's around are very Jekyll and Hyde-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got the memory loss from the Hulk doesn't remember when Banner's there, and Banner doesn't remember when the Hulk is there. So that's
a really difficult conflict to live with, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
You think, what did because Banner always worries about what he did as the Hulk. Did I hurt anyone? Did I hurt? He always asks people, was anyone hurt? And he's worried, what this thing might be capable of, and
As a joke, as a side joke to that whole transformation thing, I always used to laugh at the fact that when his clothes tore, his trousers never came off. It was that really weird. They never tore off. It was always just shirt.
It's funny that, he must have had good elastic or something. I don't know. But I was curious, because I think at one point they were going to do a She-Hulk series.
Oh no!
And I thought, how the hell are they going to achieve that in a transformation?
So indestructible bras, then.
That's pushing it a bit. Do you know what I mean?
It is.
That was because they had the comic book in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I think that at one point, Bridget Nielsen was touted as being the She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Well, that was interesting.
He was his cousin, and he did a blood transfusion.
That's right. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, how they would pull that off with a woman doing it. It would have been much more difficult than a man, because you're going to have all the sexism coming out. And
but wasn't that on the back of sort of the success of Bionic Man and Bionic Woman? And I thought, well, if you've got a Hulk, you can have a She-Hulk as well. Then. Yeah. I suppose so.
Yeah, I just don't know how they would have done it. I mean, it never happened, but I mean,
no,
I don't think it ever will. Maybe it might do as a CGI creation. I don't think it would work. I don't think they'd ever do it as a live action thing anymore. Where an actual actor plays the part.
Yeah,
of it.
It is an animation piece that was done.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has her own little cartoon animation that she
does. Yeah. So I just wanted to pay tribute, as it's our first show. I'll be speaking about Bill. I could speak about Bill Bixby till.
What a wonderful man! What a wonderful man! I used to like him as a kid. I used to think he was a great man after watching the whole.
Yeah.
Very soft and gentle bloke. So he passed away not long. How long ago did he pass away? 'Cause I know he's no longer with us. But
it was a long time ago. It was 1993 when he died.
Wow.
Cancer.
Okay.
There was, I think you alluded to earlier on, Susan, about them. They were when they did that trilogy of those made-for-TV movies, 88 to 90, they were going to do one more, and I think that's the one. There was going to be a follow-up from the death of the Incredible Hulk. And they were going to do one more, like Rebirth of something it was going to be called, where he didn't die as such in that. At the end of death, it turns out that he went into a coma, and he's taken to a facility or hospital, and I think that's where a transfusion comes in. There's something like that goes on. But what happens is in the transition or transfusion, he turns out that he has the body of Lou Ferrigno, but the mind of Banner. And they were going to do it like that. Something like that. Which they actually did in Prometheus. They did something like that, where he's like caught between the two. He's caught halfway. So I think that's what it was going to be. Something like that they were going to do with it, and do one more like that. But it never happened because Bill got ill, and that was it.
I hear I think he got ill when he was directing Blossom.
Yes. Yeah.
And he had cancer?
Yeah. About 91, I think it started happening or something. Not long after the last movie they did together. 1991. So that, he in terms of this story, I love the fact that I love the way it was shot. The cinematography was beautiful in it. It had a kind of noir look to it.
Yeah, it was really dark. It was beautiful. It was dark, lots of chiaroscuro. And there was lots of shadows in the lab, and I mean, all the horror cinematography was gorgeous.
It's kind of aged well when you look at it. It's kind because most things that come from that era don't really come aged that well, and this Hulk series looks kind of like you can watch it any day. These days are not sort of like
seriously, exactly, except for cell phones, exactly.
Yeah, it had that it had a dark look to it, a dark sheen to it, didn't it? It was, I love them, and the music. We must talk about the music because that's incredible in the series all the way through, I think.
Yeah,
the
they
way
were
that
nice.
Joe Harnell was we must mention him. He was the composer for the whole run, I think.
Yeah.
And of course, he's responsible for the Lonely Man theme. But yeah, all in all, I loved it.
Yeah,
Me too.
I enjoyed it as well. I
Thanks
really liked it.
for asking us to do this with you.
Oh, you're very
Yeah.
welcome.
Yes, Frank. Thank you very much. I enjoyed going back over it, and I hope to come back with you and review another episode in the whole season ahead.